Good morning, students. Hope all of you are fine. I think most of you must have fed up with all these lockdown holidays. Okay. Uh, Before jumping to the topic, I would like to emphasize on one thing. Don't underestimate our ENT subject, because I think your seniors, they had very tough paper. But I've given very good marks in Viva and all. They couldn't, most of them couldn't get through. Okay, that's why this one is suggestion is pay attention on this virtual classes. We have to start these virtual classes because how long we don't know. Nobody knows actually. Okay, let's jump into our topic, that is anatomy of the nose. I'll tell briefly about external anatomy of the nose and bony pyramid of the nose, cartilaginous wall of the nose, and soft tissue coverings and nasal musculature, nasal septum. And lateral wall, actually, that's a very big topic regarding the anatomy and endoscopic anatomy. I'll tell in the next class. And nerve supply and blood supply of the nose. Coming to the nose, it consists of external nose, nasal cavity. The external nose, it's a pyramidal position of the face. It contains, so this is the tip this is the root of the nose. It's also known as radix, and this is the dorsum. Okay, this is the dorsum. This is the tip of the nose, and this is the root of the nose, also known as radix. Okay, it's the bridge of the nose, and these are called ala. Here you need to know some important meanings of these words. Actually, it will be useful in rhinoplasty surgeries and all. We'll tell it later, but I'll tell about this. Glabella. Glabella is the upper narrowed end of nose. It joins with the forehead. Okay, and Nasion is called actually Nasion. Nasion is upper end of the internasal suture. Nasion, and Rhinian is the lower end of the internasal suture. And coming to the nasofrontal angle. What is nasofrontal angle? I think in next, this is called nasofrontal angle. It's the angle made by the dorsum of the nose with the glabella. It is around more than 135 actually in females and less than 130 in males. Coming to the Lyman vestibule. Lyman vestibule is between upper and lower cartilage. I'll tell it later regarding this. And what about nasolabial angle? It's between the columella and upper lip. See, this is called nasolabial angle. Okay, between the columella and upper lip. It's actually more than 105 to 110 in females and 90 to 95 in males. Okay, coming to nose regarding osteocartilaginous framework. It consists of bony pyramid is upper 1/3 is bony pyramid, and the cartilaginous part is lower 2/3. Lower 2/3 is cartilaginous part. In this, middle 1/3 is upper lateral cartilages, and lower 1/3 is lower lateral cartilages. This is a bony pyramid mainly formed by the nasal bones. This is called nasal bones. And frontal passes of the maxilla. This is called frontal passes of the maxilla. Okay, nasal bones and frontal passes of the maxilla. These two nasal bones form a crest in the middle. Okay, this is called crest in the midline, and it articulates with superiorly with the nasal spine of the frontal bone. It's called frontal nasal spine of the frontal bone superiorly, and laterally with the frontonasal passes of the maxilla. Okay. This is the same picture showing the same picture showing frontal nasal passes of maxilla and all. And here one thing to observe is what is this nasolacrimal groove. This is a nasolacrimal groove. Okay, this is surrounded anteriorly by the frontonasal passes of the maxilla and posteriorly by the lacrimal bone. We'll do regularly endodCR. What is endodCR? EndodCR, dacryocysto rhinostomy. In endoscopic dacryocysto rhinostomy. In that case, we'll just gouged out this frontonasal passes of the maxilla and even this lacrimal bone to identify the lacrimal sac, and we have to put an incision and drain the pus. Okay. Regarding that, and these are major lateral upper lateral cartilages. This is upper lateral cartilage, this is lower lateral cartilage, this is sesamoid cartilages and lesser alar cartilages. Okay. Coming to the upper cartilageous vault. Okay, these are paid upper lateral cartilages. This is called paid upper lateral cartilages. See this base. Where is the base? Base at the septum. This is the base. Base at the septum, and apex at the pyriform fossa. Pyriform aperture will be there. No, here the apex at the pyriform fossa and base at the septum. Okay. These medial borders of the upper lateral cartilages, thick and continuous with the dorsal border of the septal cartilage. You have a cartilage inside in the middle. No, it's a dorsal border is continuous with the upper lateral cartilages. Okay, laterally upper lateral. See this upper lateral is short of pyriform edge of maxilla, and this is gap is filled by dense fibrofatty tissue. Is called empty triangle. Okay, this is called empty triangle. Coming to the upper cartilaginous wall, is here one thing you should know, that is internal nasal wall. Okay, internal nasal wall very important. You can get it in 2 marks question. Okay, the angle made by the nasal septum and upper lateral cartilages. The triangular area bounded laterally by the caudal edge of the upper lateral cartilages and medially by the septum, and floor nasal cavity floor inferiorly. Okay, it's around 10 to 15 degrees. I think is around less than 30 degrees. It's actually okay. Coming to the lower cartilaginous wall. Lower cartilaginous wall. See this one. This is the lower cartilaginous wall. Consider lateral crus, middle crus, and medial crus. Okay, lateral crus is 1 mm thickness. Middle crus has divided into dormal and lobular segment, and then medial crus. Medial crus lies in the skin of the columella, and 2 medial crura are attached by the fibrous tissue, and to the lower end of the septum by the membranous septum. Okay, medial crus. This is the medial crus. This is the lateral crus. This is the middle crus. Medial crus of the 2 sides is on 2 sides attached by the fibrous tissue, and followed by we have that membranous septum followed by cartilaginous septum. Understood? Anderson has compared this lower lateral cartilage as a tripod because see 2 long legs of lateral crura and short leg of medial crura. Here 2 long legs of lateral crura and short. Coming to the columella. A columella divided into 3 parts: upper 1/3, middle 1/3, and lower 1/3. Okay, and this shape of the columella depends on size and shape of the medial crura. These all are important in rhinoplasty surgeries. I'll tell it later. Okay. Coming to the soft tissue covering. Here we can nasal skin. Subcutaneous nasal skin is thin over the upper lateral cartilages and nasal bones, and thick over the lower lateral cartilages. And here there will be a lot of sebaceous glands. The hypertrophy of the sebaceous glands of the nose is called rhinophyma. Okay, they may ask you in 2 marks question, what is rhinophyma? Okay, coming to the subcutaneous tissue, it has thickness. It has 4 layers. It's called superficial panicles, fibromuscular layer, deep fatty layer, and periosteum, perichondrium. Here in incisions in rhinoplasty are given deep to all these layers. Why? Because this blood vessels run deep to the fatty layer. Coming to the nasal musculature. Here we have elevators like Procerus, levator labes superioris, alaceae, nosae. And here one important point is here the muscle with longest name. It's called levator labes superioris, alaceae, nosae. This is the only muscle with longest name. Okay, they may ask in viva. Okay, depressors. Alar part of nasal is depressor septi. The compressor like transverse part of nasal is compressor naris and dilator naris. I'll show in the next diagram. See, this is a Procerus muscle. This is nasalis. This is Procerus. This is nasalis transverse part. If you elevate it, you can alar part also you can see. Okay, these 2 are called dilator naris muscle, anterior and posterior, and the depressor nasi muscle is here. This is, I told you, levator labus superior salacea nosae. This is the longest muscle, longest name of the muscle, not longest muscle. It's the longest name of the muscle. Okay, and see, if you elevate this one, nasalis transverse part, you can see the alar part of the nasalis muscle. Okay. Coming to the septum. I think in deviated nasal septum and all, again I will tell you briefly. I'll tell about the bony and bony part of the nasal septum. Bony part is formed by the perpendicular plate of ethmoid. This is the perpendicular plate of ethmoid. Okay, this is called vomer. This is vomer posteriorly. This is perpendicular plate of ethmoid. Okay, and nasal septum, this is septal cartilage. This is septal quadrangular cartilage. This is perpendicular plate of ethmoid, and this is vomer. Apart from all these things, all these three, and see this nasal bone. What is this? Nasal spina frontal bone. This nasal spina frontal bone also forms a little bit of nasal septum. And anything else? Here, sphenoid crest. I think in the next diagram you can see very properly. Sphenoid crest, here the sphenoid crest is there. Okay, sphenoid crest and rostrum also forms, and you can see this just above the palatine bone, nasal crest of the maxillary and palatine bones. This crest also forms the nasal septum. These three, nasal spina frontal bone and crest of sphenoid crest, and apart from that, this nasal crest of the maxillary and palatine bones form the complete nasal septum. Okay. Come to the quadrilateral cartilage. It's a major support to the mechanism of the nose. It is you can see what's the roof of the nose formed by. You can say what is the roof of the nose formed by? Anterior sloping part formed by the nasal bone, and posterior sloping part formed by the sphenoid bone. That's body of the sphenoid, and middle horizontal part formed by the cribriform plate. Okay. What about the roof? This is called roof. Floor of the nose formed by, what is this part? This part is anterior 3/4 and posterior 1/4. Anterior 3/4 is formed by the palatine process. This thick part, palatine process of the maxilla, anterior 3/4. Posterior 1/4 is formed by the horizontal part of the palatine bone. Palatine bone is actually, see this L-shaped bone. It has horizontal part of the palatine bone and vertical part of the palatine. This blue part you can see, no? Here this floor of the nose is formed by this palate. I mean to say anterior 3/4 by the palatine process of the maxilla, anterior 3/4, and posterior 1/4 by the horizontal part of the palatine bone. Okay. Here you can see greater and lesser Falten foramens. See greater Falten foramen, lesser Falten foramen. Okay. This is the incisive canal. Regarding the nose. Coming to the nasal septum, continue. Here actually between septal cartilage and what is membranous septum? What is membranous septum? I told you already. Between septal cartilage and columella, there will be consist of vestibular skin with intervening alveolar tissue. There won't be any cartilage and membrane, only skin with intervening areolar tissue. Okay, it's anteriorly here. Okay, it's the part of membranous septum, just in front of our septal cartilage. In septoplasty, integrity of the membrane septum should be preserved. Okay, otherwise there is supratic deformity and the chance of. Coming to the lateral wall, this is actually very huge topic, and I think this endoscopic anatomy and lateral wall I will tell in the next class, because it's a vast subject, vast topic, and endoscopic anatomy will take a lot of time. Just briefly, I will just tell about lateral wall. Lateral wall is formed by the superior, middle, and inferior tabnates. You know, the superior meatus is just medial, inferior and medial to the superior tabnate. Middle meatus is just inferior and medial to the middle tabnate, and inferior meatus is just inferior and middle to the inferior tabnate. Okay. You can see this is the inferior tabnate, this is the middle tabnate, this is superior tabnate. You know what are the structures you open with inferior meatus? Nasolacrimal duct opens into the inferior meatus. Okay. in middle meatus is very important surgically also. There are a lot of sinus openings in the middle meatus. What are they? Frontal sinus and maxillary sinus and anterior ethmoid sinus all are open in the middle meatus. Okay, superior meatus, posterior ethmoid sinus will open into the superior meatus. What is this? Sphenoethmoid recess. Sphenoid sinus opens into the sphenoethmoidal recess. I'll tell this endoscopic anatomy next class. Okay. Coming to the nerve supply. Nerve supply externally. The sensory supply by the, see this one, infratrochlear nerve, branches of the ophthalmic nerve. Okay, infratrochlear nerve superiorly, upper 1/3 and upper 1/3 part of the external skin, nose skin supplied by the infratrochlear nerve. This infraorbital nerve, this is the maxillary branch of the trigeminal nerve. Infraorbital nerve will supply the lower part. Even this external branch of anterioethmoidal nerve, this is also branch of ophthalmic nerve. These two are branches of ophthalmic nerve. Okay, this infratrochlear nerve supplies the upper part. This infraorbital nerve and external branch of anterioethmoidal nerve supply the lower part of the external branch of the external skin. Okay. Coming to the internal supply of the nose. Okay. Laterally and medially. Lateral part, lateral wall of the nose mainly supplied by the maxillary nerve, and branches of the sphenopalatine ganglion. The branches of sphenopalatine ganglion you should know. Main branches of sphenopalatine ganglion are posterior lateral nasal nerves. Posterior lateral nerves are the main branches of the sphenopalatine ganglion. Those have superior and inferior. Posterior lateral nerves of superior, posterior inferior lateral nerves. These are main branches of the sphenopalatine ganglion. Apart from that, you can greater and lesser palatine nerves. This greater palatine nerve also supplies the lateral wall of the nose. Okay, and the nasopalatine nerve. This has three branches, main branches I told you, no? Sphenopalatine nerve. One is posterior superior lateral nerves and posterior inferior lateral nerves, and the greater and lesser palatine nerves. Those two, and the third one is nasopalatine nerve. These two, first two I told you, no, that supplies the lateral wall, and this nasopalatine nerve I told you, no, that supplies the medial wall. That's the septum. This is the nasopalatine nerve. Out of those three branches, first two branches supplies the lateral wall. The last I told you, nasopalatine nerve mainly supplies the posterior most part of the nasal septum. In both lateral and medial walls, the anterior side is supplied by the anterioethmoidal nerve, internal part of the anterioethmoidal nerve. If it is in a septum, that is a medial internal nasal anterioethmoidal nerve. It is lateral part of anterioethmoidal nerve. Okay. This is regarding nerve supply. Okay, one thing I forgot to tell you. What is this? This is an olfactory nerve. This is supplies the upper superior part of the nose. Okay, olfactory nerve. The same thing showing this is olfactory nose. This sphenopalatine ganglion I told you, no. This is a maxillary nerve, sphenopalatine branches. I told you, no, posterior lateral nasal nerves are these, and that's greater palatine nerves coming from the greater palatine and lesser palatine nerves. This is the palatine nerves. This is greater palatine nerves, and this is lesser palatine nerves. Okay, this greater palatine nerves comes anteriorly, and this incisor canal will unites with the nasopalatine nerve of the medial part. See, okay, it unites with the nasopalatine in the incisor canal. Okay. Coming to the autonomic innervation of the nasal cavity. Here the parasympathetic supply mainly from the greater superficial petrosal nerve. You see, this is the greater superficial petrosal nerve arises from the geniculate ganglion. This is a greater, and this is parasympathetic nerve supply from this one, and sympathetic from the carries in the deep petrosal nerve. This is called deep petrosal nerve. This is greater superficial petrosal. They unite to form the nerve of pterygoid canal. It's called Vidian nerve. It's important for you. 2 marks question. What is the nerve of pterygoid canal or Vidian nerve? They can ask. Okay, Vidian nerve, and they rely on the sphenopalatine ganglion. And I told you the branches of the sphenopalatine ganglion. Okay. This post ganglionic parasympathetic fibers mainly supplies the nasal glands. nasal glands and maxillary sinus glands and all, and they cause vasodilatation. And postganglionic sympathetic fibers cause mainly vasoconstriction. Okay. Next one, coming to the arterial supply. The main external part of the nose is supplied by the ophthalmic and maxillary branch of infraoptic branch of maxillary artery, and the lateral nasal angular artery and angular artery of facial artery also. Okay. Coming to the internal supply of the vascular supply of the nose. Okay. Superiorly by the anterior internal carotid nose is supplied both by internal carotid artery and external carotid artery. Internal carotid branch of ophthalmic artery divides, and it has anterior artery and posterior artery. Main supply by the is this sphenopalatine artery is the main supply of the nose. Okay, this is sphenopalatine artery, main branch of the nose. Okay, so it's also called as artery of epistaxis. What is this area? Little's area. Little's area is anastomose of 4 branches. One is anterethmoid artery. Here the anterethmoid, one more is septal branch of superior labial artery here, and greater palatine artery here, and sphenopalatine artery is there. This is a major branch. Okay, here posterior artery doesn't involve in this Little's area. These 4 branches involved in Little's area. It's most common set of epistaxis in adults. Okay. Coming to the this one, lateral wall is the same branches except the branches of facial artery. Here even lesser palatine artery also involves here, and remaining are also same. Okay, even posterior also involves here. Okay. Now just one this is important one, venous drainage. Okay. External veins of the nose drains into angular and ophthalmic veins. Those drains into the cavernous veins in the nasal cavity. That's why what is it called dangerous area of the face. This lower part of the nose and the philtrum and the upper lip. This part is called dangerous area of the face because it drains into the angular veins and ophthalmic veins. In turn, they drains into the cavernous sinus. That's why if any infection or any vestibule in the nose, there may chances of developing into an infection goes into the brain. That's why you should be very careful. That's why it's called dangerous area of the nose. Don't confuse with the dangerous area of the nose. This is dangerous area of the face. What is dangerous area of the nose? Dangerous area of the nose is olfactory region of the nose. Why olfactory region is dangerous area of the nose? I'll show you once. This olfactory region, but this is called dangerous area of the nose because these olfactory nerves carry Jura, arachnoid, and pyometres with them. Okay, if any trauma or any trauma happen to this olfactory nerve causes, there will be CSF rhinorrhea and even meningitis. Okay, that's why it's called dangerous area of the nose. Okay, I think we will finish off with this one today. Next class I will tell lateral wall of nose, that to endoscopic anatomy, that is a huge topic. Okay, prepare well. If you have any doubts, you can write in my number. You can ask any doubts. Okay, 8008 448 448. If you have any doubts, you can text me. I'll tell you, clarify. Okay, thank you. Any doubts, any questions, you can ask them. Cribriform plate. Cribriform plate is the, I show you. Here is an ankle and right. Leave it. Once again, I'll show you the diagram, then we'll get to know better. Sir, undam aithe. I told you now the roof of the nose, the horizontal part is formed by the cribriform plate. This is the cribriform plate. Through this olfactory nerve it passes. Any trauma or any trauma to the any this cribriform plate injury causes anosmia and even CSF rhinorrhea also. Okay, roof of the nose is formed by cribriform plate. This is cribriform plate. Okay, anything else? Any chat box? Where is it? Okay. Doubts regarding this anatomy? I think all of you read very well in your anatomy classes.